ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वतीदेवे गौरवाणीचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. All right. So today's topic is about the stages of bhakti, which is from Shraddha to Prema, and all the stages are deducted from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Rupa Goswami has mainly considered the Srimad Bhagavatam as the Praman for the stages, and I will show you the verses from where he has derived all these stages. And then Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he has written a book on this, which is called as Madhurya Kadambini. So he has elaborated on all these stages, the corresponding symptoms, how can we identify which stage we are at, and the difference between the different devotees, Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama, like that. So I think it's a wonderful presentation that Vishwanath Thakur has presented to us in a simple language and then further simplified by His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj. So what I have done is I have taken the slides from one of the seminars that Maharaj has presented as it is, and I thought that that will be very helpful. So let's start with the Srimad Bhagavatam verse and then we'll continue with the PowerPoint presentation. I would like to share the screen. Okay, so this is okay. All right. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, verse number 17. This is a very popular verse. I think every devotee knows this verse. Srinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridi Anta Stohi Abhadrani Vidunoti Suharta Satam. Synonyms: Srinvatam, those who have developed the urge to hear the message of; Swakatha, his own words; Krishna, the personality of Godhead; Punya, virtues; Shravana, hearing; Kirtana, chanting; Hridi Antastha, within one's heart; he certainly; Abhadrani, desire to enjoy matter; Vidinoti, cleanses; Suharta, benefactor; Satam, of the truthful. Translation: Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Messages of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, are non different from him. Whenever, therefore, offenseless hearing and glorification of God are undertaken, it is to be understood that Lord Krishna is present there in the form of transcendental sound, which is as powerful as the Lord personally. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his Sikshashtaka, declares clearly that the holy name of the Lord has all the potencies of the Lord, and that he has endowed his innumerable names with the same potency. There is no rigid fixture of time, and anyone can chant the holy name with attention and reverence at his convenience. The Lord is so kind to us that he can be present before us personally in the form of transcendental sound, but unfortunately, we have no taste for hearing and glorifying the Lord's name and activities. We have already discussed developing a taste for hearing and chanting the holy sound. It is done through the medium of service to the pure devotee of the Lord. The Lord is reciprocally respondent to his devotees. When he sees that a devotee is completely sincere in getting admittance to the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and has thus become eager to hear about him, the Lord acts from within the devotee in such a way that the devotee may easily go back to him. The Lord is more anxious to take us back into his kingdom than we can desire. Most of us do not desire at all to go back to Godhead. Only a very few men want to go back to Godhead. But anyone who desires to go back to Godhead, Sri Krishna helps in all respects. One cannot enter into the kingdom of God unless one is perfectly cleared of all sins. The material sins are products of our desires to lord it over material nature. It is very difficult to get rid of such desires. Women and wealth are very difficult problems for the devotee making progress on the path back to Godhead. Many stalwarts in the devotional line fell victim to these allurements and thus retreated from the path of liberation. But when one is helped by the Lord Himself, the whole process becomes as easy as anything by the divine grace of the Lord. To become restless in the contact of women and wealth is not an astonishment, because every living being is associated with such things from remote time, practically immemorial, and it takes time to recover from this foreign nature. But if one is engaged in hearing glories of the Lord, gradually he realizes his real position. By the grace of God, such a devotee gets sufficient strength to defend himself from the state of disturbances, and gradually all disturbing elements are eliminated from his mind. Yeah, so the translation says that Krishna, in the as Paramatma in everyone's heart, is the benefactor, and he cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages. So basically, we are starting this verse from Anartha Nivriti. Srila Vishwanath Thakur says that this verse is compared to Anartha Nivriti because the Lord is actually cleansing our heart, which is filled with material desires, material enjoyment, right? So this is Anartha Nivriti. Now we won't go to all the purports of the different verses of the stages. What we'll do is we'll just go through the translation. So the next verse, Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So here we can clearly understand that Nityam, when you do Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, when you are studying your devotional service, then it is the stage indicating the state of Nishtha. So Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki is the state of steadiness. So by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So this is the stage of Nishtha. Next verse. Tada rajastamo bhava kamalobha chet etir anaviddham stitam satve prasiddhati. So as soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy. So these are the stages that refer to the stage of ruchi and asakti, both together. Okay. So unless you are really attached to the Lord, you cannot really get free from the ignorance, lust, and anything which is material. And the next one. So this is the last verse that indicates the stage of bhava and prema. Evam prasanno manaso bhagavad bhakti yogata bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. So this indicates the stage of bhav and how it also produces prem, because only at this stage one is totally free from any type of ego, any type of relation with the material object and senses. One becomes transcendental on these stages. All right. So, so these are the stages according to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now let's go through all the stages one by one. Of course, we'll start from Anartha Nivriti. Sadhu Sang Bhajana Kriya, that's like quite understood, because when we have some Shraddha, we have some faith, we start practicing devotional service in the association of devotees, and then finally we take diksha. So then we really start the process of bhajan kriya with sincerity and seriousness, and then we undergo the stage of anartha nivriti. So let's start with the uh, stage of anartha nivriti, and I would like to share on the screen. I hope you are all able to see the screen. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Prabhuji, we can see.
So bhajana kriya, let's start with, of course, which is basically corresponding to anartha nivriti. Practice. So there are two varieties of bhajana. One is anishtita bhajana kriya and one is nishtita bhajana kriya, which means one is unsteady bhajana kriya and one is steady bhajan kriya, right? So Shraddha Sadhu Sang, and then when we start practicing bhajan kriya, then there are many impurities in the heart, material contamination heart, and gradually we overcome that. So from anishtita, so nishtita means steady, and of course you cannot be steady unless you are free from most of the modes of material nature. So Prabhupada says that nishtha stage refers to the stage wherein almost 75% of the anarthas are destroyed, removed. Okay, so before that, if you have all these symptoms, which will also come across now, then your bhajan or your bhakti is not going to be steady. It will be distracted, it will be diverted, and it won't be steady in nature. So symptoms, anishtita symptoms. So false confidence, that is the first. So this is all described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his Madhurya Kadambi. So false confidence, utsamai. So you know that sometimes we have overconfidence. Devotees, when they are new in the movement, they try to imitate others and they would like to take some vows which they are not able to follow, or they would like to do some activities that is too overwhelming for them. So in over enthusiasm, they will commit something, but then later they will not be able to do it. So this is false confidence. Then sporadic endeavor, ghana tarla. So what is that? So sporadic endeavor is endeavor which is uh, fickle in nature. So it is not fixed. It is quite random in nature. Okay, so we will not have a fixed goal, fixed purpose in bhakti. We'll try to attempt different things, maybe to impress others and to get appreciation from others. Then third is indecision, yud vikalpa. So indecision basically means that we are not able to, we are confused. We are not steady in our decisions, and we make decisions according to the nature of our inclination, to the amount of appreciation that we get from others, or to some external factors. The purpose is not really to please the Lord directly. The most important purpose is not there. So we may get diverted from that purpose. Then struggle with Maya. Of course, I think every devotee experiences this. Vishay Sangara. So sometimes we are, like one time I remember, it was Tamal Krishna Maharaj or Giriraj Maharaj who were having conversation with Srila Prabhupada in one of the morning walks. And then one of them was describing to Prabhupada that how, I think it was Giriraj Maharaj. So he told Prabhupada that, uh, by your mercy, uh, I am in Krishna consciousness and sometimes I am in Maya. And Prabhupada corrected him and told him that it is the other way around. That most of the time we are in Maya and sometimes in Krishna consciousness. So then Maharaj realized that what Prabhupada is saying making sense to me. And he came to the conclusion that it's actually true because our mind is somewhere else. So most of the time, so we may be doing some external devotional activity, service, but then the internally what is going on in our mind, and then what we do after some time, how much constantly we are doing devotional service or how much constantly we remember the Lord. These are all very deep and detailed, detailed process of bhakti. So um, someone who is at the level of Uttamadhikari is actually very advanced. Otherwise, Madhyamadhikari also can sometimes be influenced by the external forces. So then, inability to uphold the vows, niyama aksama. So this also, I think every devotee can relate that sometimes during festival times, or in the month of Kartik, or in the month of Purushottam Mas, or maybe when Gorpanim comes, because it's a new year of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So we take some vows, or we would like to offer something to the Lord, but then we are not able to keep those vows, right? So again, maybe we want to show off to other devotees, or we want to show them that we are very advanced in devotional service, and like that. That's one of the intentions also. And then enjoying the waves of material life, Taranga Rangini. So we do enjoy the material world also as much as possible. At the same time, we also do bhakti. So that way, our bhakti is unsteady. Anishtita bhajana kriya. Okay, now let's discuss about the four types of anarthas. So when we are doing bhakti, there are anarthas or material contamination that can affect our bhakti. And so sometimes we may commit some sinful activities knowingly, unknowingly, that will create some anarthas. Then sometimes we also do some pious activities that can also give rise to certain type of anarthas. And then, of course, we know the biggest and the most severe type of anartha is the anartha which arises from aparadhas. That's the third. And the fourth one is the anartha that arise from performing bhakti improperly, which is imperfectly performed. Okay, so we'll discuss all these now. So arising from previous sinful activity. Of course, everyone knows that in devotional life, as Prabhupada also said in the purport, that devotee generally he must be free from all sinful activities in order to advance in bhakti. And Krishna also says the same thing in the Bhagavad Gita, that unless and until a devotee is free from sinful activities, he cannot really be steady in his bhakti. So one thing, of course, we know that any person can become a devotee, irrespective of their karmas, because karma is not connected to bhakti. It's the sukriti which is connected to bhakti, the devotee's mercy, and bhakti is actually connected to uh, like whatever devotional service we perform, that will bestow taste in bhakti. But karma in itself has no influence on bhakti. So here, sinful, even person who is most sinful in nature, they can also become devotees. Like Ajamil is the case. Migrari Hunter is there. Then there's so many examples in Gaur Leela where sinful people became devotees by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So people who commit sins, they can also become devotees. But of course, the condition is that they have to, in order to advance, they have to leave all these sinful activities. So sinful activities, it produces a variety of modification of the kleshas. Okay, so see, one of uh, the two most the result of sadhana bhakti. So there are three stages in our devotional life: sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, prem bhakti. And from Nectar of Devotion, we know Srila Rupa Goswami says that the first type of bhakti, sadhana bhakti, generally it should produce, it should result into Shubhada as well as Kleshagni, which means that it should lead to auspiciousness and all the karmas should be destroyed. Ideally, it should be like that. So sadhana bhakti starts from Shraddha and goes all the way up to Asakti, right? So of course, if you do not commit any aparadhs, then a devotee will experience a lot of bliss because Shubhada, everything becomes very auspicious. So in that auspiciousness, a devotee will be blissful, happy, and satisfied also, and all the karmas will be destroyed. But if we commit sinful activities, now if sinful activities are committed unknowingly and without connecting to our guru, without knowing that this is one of the aparadhs to the holy name, then we do not commit aparadh. As in the case of Ajamil, we have discussed that elaborately in our past session. And once we take shelter of Guru, once we know the process of bhakti, once we know what are the 10 offenses to holy name, then we cannot commit sins based on strength of the holy name. That itself becomes a major aparadh. Okay, so uh, that's why we have to immediately stop all the sinful activities. Otherwise, it can result into aparadh. It can turn into aparadh, and that aparadh can lead to. So generally, bhakti will destroy all your karmas, right? But if you commit aparadh, then the karmas will not be destroyed, or maybe there are situations where it may be possible that some new karmas may also uh, be they can also creep in. So we need to be very careful about committing any aparadhs, and of course that also connects to the commitment of sinful activities. So that's why it is said that it can cause a modification of the kleshas. So kleshagni means restriction of the sinful reaction. So that has to be followed very strictly. Of course, that's why Srila Prabhupada has given us the four aggregate principles. Now, second type of anartha is generated from committing pious activity. So you must be wondering that how pious activity can lead to aparadh, because it's a good thing, right? It's a good deed. But the problem is that when you do some pious activity, there is a corresponding good reaction that comes along with it, and that good reaction can also divert you from bhakti. For example, it can lead you to sattva guna, and then it can also lead you to sense enjoyment in the material world, and it can also divert you to attain for mukti instead of bhakti. So these are the anarthas that come from pious activities. So we have to be careful at all stages of devotion. We have to be cautious about the intentions that we have, and accordingly we have to, by taking knowledge from our gurujan, we should identify and then we should try to rectify it. So anarthas that arise from aparadh. Now, aparadh generally refers to nam aparadh. There are, of course, there are seva aparadhs also, and I think there are 32 or 62, 64 list of seva aparadhs, which is much greater than that of nam aparadh. But the effects of seva aparadh is less compared to the effects of nam aparadh. And then nam aparadh, of course, we know that there are 10 divisions. There are 10 nam aparadhs, offenses to the holy name, and the major aparadh that we need to be cautious of is the aparadh committed to the Vaishnava. So we should be very careful not to blaspheme any Vaishnava, especially those who are preaching the holy name and those who are very dear to the Lord. Of course, there is a difference of reaction that we get if we commit aparadhs to different category of devotees. Like if we commit aparadh to Kanishtadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, Uttamadhikari. So if we commit aparadh to Uttamadhikari, then the reaction will be the most severe. And then Madhyamadhikari, the reaction will be less severe. And Kanishta, it will be less severe. But if you offend the Kanishta, your bhakti can become stagnant. You will not be able to advance further. So we should be very cautious about it. So depending on the degree of the advancement of the Vaishnava, we have to be very careful and we have to respect and worship that Vaishnava accordingly. Then, yes, so now there are two major aparadhs that are not so easy to overcome. And one is, as I already shared, is Vaishnava Ninda. And second is to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy names. So these two aparadhs are the most dangerous type of aparadh. And of course, we'll also discuss how to counteract these aparadhs. The other aparadhs, if we commit unintentionally, and or maybe we are not educated properly in bhakti, we are not trained properly, and that's why we are unable to identify these aparadhs. We are not able to understand the tattva of the entire process of Krishna consciousness. So that's why maybe we commit aparadhs. So these are not severe aparadhs, and we can easily counteract them by constantly chanting of the holy name of the Lord, and of course with proper Sambandh Gyan from the Guru. So conscious aparadh, now there are two types of course, there are divisions of the intensity of aparadhs. If you commit aparadhs consciously, intentionally, then that is a major, it will give you a major reaction. And if you commit aparadh unknowingly, unintentionally in your mind sometimes, that will have less effect. Okay, so that is also important. Now, what exactly is aparadh? That's what we need to understand first. So Srila Vishwanath Thakur, he has described this clearly, that generally, so we get fearful of aparadh, and we see that in our family members also, family circle also, we have devotees. Like maybe many of you in your family, they are devotees. So then, in our familiar relationship, we take everyone for granted. And then there's also saying that familiarity breeds contempt. So maybe one of your relative in the family is very advanced, but because you have the relationship, that intimacy you have, that's why maybe you are taking for granted, or maybe you are not behaving in the right way. So yeah, I mean, of course, all these things will matter also. How much intimacy you have with the devotee, how much uh, how much what all you share with the devotee, it also depends on your relationship. So there may be a senior and junior devotee, and you may feel very comfortable and open to share everything with them. Of course, the intention is never to commit aparadh to them, right? So that kind of relationship also will be taken into consideration. But if you think what is aparadh, what is actually aparadh, so Vishwanath Chakra Thakur has clearly stated that if you try to intentionally defame a person, defame a devotee with the spirit of envy, and if that is done repeatedly with the wrong intentions, I mean, you have purposefully, if you keep committing, if you keep doing that activity again and again, then that is actually called aparadh. So if you are doing it, then you have to, first of all, you need to understand, why am I criticizing this devotee? Why am I advising this devotee? Why I am trying to defame this devotee? Is it because of my ego, or is it? I mean, even if it is genuine, then of course we have some etiquettes that we need to follow. So if you really want to criticize someone, that criticism should be beneficial for the devotee. That should be the main intention, so that it can help that devotee advance in his spiritual life. If that criticism is not going to help them, then just by criticizing them, it's not going to help you, because you will get into the loop of always unnecessarily criticizing other devotees. So better we have to refrain from it completely. So who can criticize and who can correct? It is best to leave it to their gurujan, or any senior devotees whom they actually get inspiration from. So these are the devotees uh, who will actually help you in, they are the ones, they can correct and they can rectify the devotee. But if you try to unnecessarily, if the devotee is not inspired by you, and if you unnecessarily try to offer criticism or advice, and of course it also depends on your purpose and motivation. If the motivation is good, still okay, you are safe. But why to give advice to someone who is not going to listen to you? And uh, the relationship will become sour after some time. So because, if unnecessarily you give advice to someone, they will not able to handle that, they will not able to accept it, and later on they will start thinking that this devotee probably is not my well wisher. So they will start getting this kind of feeling. So it is better not to give any kind of instruction or advice or correct them. So any devotee who has got that role, position of being a temple president, or a commander, temple commander, or any type of authority in temple. So they can only give advice, or they can provide feedback or correction or rectification, as long as it is within the temple policy, to uh, in order to maintain the, you can say, the proper relationship in the temple, or the proper etiquette in the temple, or to have some kind of stable management in the temple. So if it is within the purview of all these things which is connected to the temple, running of the temple, and directly connected to management, so that long, as far as that, you can actually provide some kind of correction to the devotee. But otherwise, you don't have the right to interfere in any devotee's personal life, because the Lord knows the previous life of all the devotees, and we don't know that. He knows the future also. So he's the best, and of course, their Gurujan are the best to correct them. So we don't have any right to correct anyone. So unnecessarily providing advice can also become an aparadh later on, if it is done repeatedly. Of course, there can be mistakes committed, and if there is some mistake, then of course we go and try to seek for forgiveness also. But it should not be repeatedly done. So one thing is that you intentionally defame Vaishnavas due to envious mentality, and second thing is that you commit some mistake, you judge someone, or you are critical to someone, and so that can be a mistake, and you stop that. Okay, but if you repeatedly do it, then that also can become an aparadh. So these are all serious aparadhs, and we have to be careful of those. Yeah. So now the rest of the aparadhs, uh, the second aparadh, which is also the serious type of aparadh, is committing sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name. Now, if you commit sinful activities, then of course the way to counteract is to stop the sinful activities. As simple as that. If you keep committing sinful activities even after chanting and even after repenting, then it does not have any effect on your, like your, or whatever measures you're taking to counteract it, it won't have any effect. So best is to stop the sinful activities altogether. Of course, you can gradually do it also. If you are unable to do it immediately, then you can also gradually stop the sinful activity. But you should be determined, and you should have that intention that I would like to stop it. So these are the two aparadhs, and the way to counteract the first aparadh. I think I did not discuss that, but of course we'll have the remedy here. So conscious aparadh is removed with great difficulty. This is what we need to understand. Yeah. So now, what is the remedy? What is the way to counteract the first type of aparadh, which is offense to the Vaishnava? Is basically, of course, first and foremost, we need to identify that we have committed an aparadh. If we are not able to identify, then we should take a consultation of senior devotees, and we should sincerely, genuinely try to understand if we have committed aparadh. Then, if we realize that okay, we have committed aparadh, then we should repent, and of course, we should apologize. We should beg forgiveness from the Vaishnavas. Not just that, but Srila Vishwanath Thakur, he explains that it is best to go and serve that devotee, so that finally he will be pleased with our service and he will offer us blessings. Okay, so respect, of course, respect, apology is there, repentance is also there, but uh, it must be assisted with service. So that service ultimately should please the Vaishnava. And ideally, a Vaishnava should never think that somebody has committed an aparadh to them, because a Vaishnava is generally by nature, one should be very humble, and a devotee does not think, because he thinks that he is the most fallen. So there is no point of anyone committing aparadh to him. So the devotee should think like that, and they should forgive the person, the devotee who has committed aparadh. Okay, generally it should be like that. But in spite of that, even when you serve the devotee, you repent, you apologize to the devotee, beg forgiveness, you serve the devotee, still the devotee is not pleased, then with all respect, you have to take shelter of the holy name in the repentance mood, and in the mind, always asking for forgiveness from the holy name, from that devotee. That, for example, if the devotee is no longer present physically, I mean, he probably, that devotee might have passed away, or he has gone somewhere else outside the country. So then, in that case, you will not be able to serve that devotee, um, or maybe you have lost contact with the devotee. So in such cases, you can humbly take shelter of the holy name, and beg for forgiveness and chant the holy name. So that way, um, you can counteract the offense. But yeah, of course, if the Vaishnav is not upset also, if you commit aparadh against a Vaishnav, and as I said, that Vaishnav generally do not take aparadh so seriously to them, they should not take. But of course, we are conditioned, so we take every little thing, we take it very seriously, and we expect that for every little thing that devotees, they are critical about us, they should beg forgiveness from us. So that is our mentality. But ideally, it should not happen. And Vaishnavas, if they, let's say, if there is a very advanced devotee, will not take the aparadh. He will not even consider that as an aparadh. But in that situation also, all these things must be done by the devotee who committed aparadh, because it is also said that the devotee will forget the offenses, or he may not even be bothered about that, but the dust of the feet of the devotee does not forget, and that will give reaction. Yes, so as I mentioned, that if the Vaishnava is not satisfied with the apology, one must simply chant the name continuously. And then if one chants but does not apologize, one commits further offense. So it can lead to a cycle of offenses. One offense can lead to another offense, like that, and it can all destroy our uh, devotional service. So there is a typical, okay, we'll first cover this point. If one does not apologize on the plea that the Vaishnava has faults, one commits further offense. Yeah, so that is also a bit critical, um, because we may see that there are some devotees who have got certain faults, and then we see that okay, this devotee has faults, so it is absolutely all right for me to criticize them, or to, I mean, I don't even have to ask for forgiveness, because I can see they have these faults. But if you commit aparadh, you are supposed to do that also. Okay. um, So you'll see that in the scriptures, Bharat Maharaj is one of the examples where Srila Jiva Goswami mentions one of the Sandarbhas, that he had fallen down from his exalted position of Bhava because of one reason. And he is assuming that reason is because he had a previous aparadh, right? So aparadhs are so dangerous that from a previous life, if you have committed a very severe aparadh, that can also influence your next life, bhakti in the next life. and Bharat Maharaj is the example. So Jeev Goswami is saying that generally it is not possible to fall down from the state of bhava, and if someone does, then mostly, majorly the reason is because of aparadh from previous life or in the past. Now, of course, Jeev Goswami also gives another statement. He says that Bharat Maharaj was constantly chanting the holy names of Lord, and that's how we attain perfection. So he says both things, as well as Srila Vishwanath Thakur says that Bharat Maharaj desired a special type of prema or intensity of love for God, and that's why the Lord, in order to increase that intensity, uh, he had given him three chances. So these are all different views from the acharyas, and of course they are all right to a great degree. Srila Prabhupada says that Bharat Maharaj had fallen down because he intentionally was getting attached to the deer. So we should be very careful that we should not become intentionally attached to the material world when we are at such a high stage. And of course, then we also hear that he was not having association of devotees. He isolated himself, and that's why there were no devotees to correct him, to rectify him. So that's why also he had fallen down. Now the other type of aparadh is Shruti Ninda, the disrespect for the Shrutis. So one should not criticize the Shruti, even though it recommends karma and jnana. So generally, karma and jnana are processes for persons who are not qualified for bhakti. So what is the remedy? The way to counteract it is to actually glorify the Shruti and chant the name, take shelter of the holy name again. So basically, see what happens is that there are certain injunctions of the scriptures, and devotees may feel that, well, this is related to karma, this is related to jnana. So we may sometimes criticize that because this is not meant for us. We are transcendental. This that we do it all the time. Although we are definitely not even on the transcendental platform, we are much lower. We are facing challenges, difficulties, obstacles in bhakti, and we are basically in the stage of Banarkriya and Artha. But because of our overconfidence, we sometimes may criticize the scriptures. So that should not be done. We should respect that. Of course, we should know how to filter it, how to filter the instructions. But one thing we should know that the different injunctions are meant for different category of people. Not everyone is going to perform bhakti. So for them, the Shastra will recommend certain process of karma and jnana, and that we should respect. And it is also mentioned that bhakti light will hide its glory. So bhakti does not give the fruit immediately. It will hide its glories, so that karma and jnana will also become prominent paths for the people who are not following bhakti. So they can also appreciate and they can also value the path of karma and jnana. Otherwise, they will have no path. If it is only bhakti and if they are not able to do bhakti, then karma and jnana, people who would like to naturally perform karma and they would like to attain knowledge, they will not get the motivation to continue it further. Are anarthas that are arising from bhakti. Now, of course, as I said, that there is the faulty process of bhakti also, which means that one is attached to one's name, fame, popularity, or they have some ulterior motives, intentions like that. So, by cultivation of bhakti, one accrues material assets, and material assets can become a distraction. Um, one accrues worship, fame, position, so that can all lead us to uh, be diverted. So the goal is pure devotional service, but then we start incorporating many other elements also in order to fulfill our desires. So it actually can affect us. Uh, so these items can become objects of attraction for the devotees and thus become anarthas. All right. So this is a table which depicts the destructions of the anarthas as we move from bhajan kriya all the way up to Prema or Siddhadeya or Vastu Siddhi. So this is the last stage, which is called Siddha, which is basically Vastu Siddha. So now what is Vastu Siddhi? Vastu Siddhi is the stage where we attain our original body that is supposed to be with Krishna in the Bhuma Vrindavan or in the spiritual world. Okay. So till the state of Prema, we have this material body. But then once we attain perfection, then we leave that material body and then we take pastimes in Krishna's Bhuma Vrindavan and we get spiritual body. Okay, so that spiritual body is actually Siddha, and this is Prema. Now, the reason these two stages are mentioned here is because Aparadhs can go all the way up to Prema also, right? Um, at the state of Bhava, the influence of Aparadh is slightly more destroyed. Prema, at the state of Prema, mostly destroyed. And Siddha, all of them are destroyed. So I will also try to explain, because you may be wondering that Prema is the last stage of perfection. So how come the effects of Aparadh can touch the state of Prema? So I will explain that. But anarthas that are arising from sin piety, so you can see that at the state of bhajana kriya, little are destroyed. Then more. Nishta, most of them are destroyed. As Srila Prabhupada also said, that 75% of anarthas are destroyed. At the state of asakti, all of them are destroyed. And of course, I will also make you go through all these stages. I will explain to you what are the symptoms at these different stages. And then the anartha arising from faulty bhakti. So you will see that little more, mostly, and all. So at the state of ruchi, almost all is destroyed, because at the state of ruchi, your intention and purpose is very clear. Your devotional service, nothing else, to only please the Lord. And that's why you'll see all of them are destroyed at the state of ruchi. And then aparadh goes all the way up to the stage of prema, right? Okay, so now what happens at prema? And there is a typical example of Srila Rup Goswami, where Rup Goswami was once, he was absorbed in the Leela of Radha and Krishna. He was seeing some pastime and his eyes were closed. So he had seen some humorous pastime in his chanting and absorption. The Lord, of course, will directly manifest himself to uh, eternal associates like Rupa Goswami. And what happened is that there was a lame person, lame devotee who was walking by, and he wanted to meet and take association of Srila Rupa Goswami. But Rupa Goswami was not able to see that devotee. And he started laughing. So this lame devotee, he was walking and he was not able to walk properly. And so he felt that Rupa Goswami is laughing at my condition. So he just paid his obeisances and he just left from there. And then Sanatan Goswami was watching this entire episode. And suddenly, what happened is when Rupa Goswami was relishing the ecstasy of the Leelas of the Lord, the entire Leela, it vanished from his vision. And then he opened his eyes and he realized that something must have happened. Why this entire Leela was withdrawn from his vision. And he then asked Sanatan Goswami, and Sanatan Goswami told this is what happened. And then Rupa Goswami realized that this may be because of unintentional aparadh that I committed towards the devotee. So it is said that at the stage of prema, there is a chance of committing some kind of unintentional aparadhs, which is of course beyond our control. And at the state of siddha, which is vastu siddhi, there is no chance of committing unintentional aparadhs also. So this is what is described, and that's why we have to be very careful that we should not commit any forms of aparadhas. So as I said, that this is the state of anartha nivriti and followed by nishtha. So this is nashta prayesha bandheshu, the state of nishtha. This is anartha nivriti. Now, characteristics of nishtha. So what are the symptoms of nishtha? The state of nishtha. And we already discussed about anartha nivriti. Now we'll discuss about the state of nishtha. So there are absence of the five qualities. So I think by mistake it's mentioned six, but there are five qualities. So there is absence of these five qualities at the stage of nishtha. And which are these five qualities? So there is the absence of sleep. So whenever you hear a class or whenever you're chanting the holy name, you'll not sleep. You will be attentive in your seva, whichever form of sadhana or seva it is. So that is one symptom. Second is absence of vikshep, material interpretation. Uh, so basically, you will get a good idea of what is actually the tattva of the process of Krishna consciousness, and you will not interpret things materially. So, like there are some statements in the Shastra which may seem to be exaggerations, glorifying the holy name or glorifying the process of bhakti, but then you will not interpret it according to your material conditionings. Then absence of apratipati. So basically, this is indifference to chanting, and that is because of feeling sleepy and distracted. So that is not present in the stage of nishta. Then shaya, sinful habits, anger, greed, pride. So these are also not present at the stage of nishta. Almost 75% means that you are almost at the stage of the sattva guna. And rasaswad, taste for material enjoyment while chanting the holy name. Yeah, so this is also not present. So you don't hanker for material enjoyment in the material world when you are chanting, but you will relish the process. So these are the 5 symptoms which are not there. Yeah. So now the stage of Nishta, if you see from Shraddha to Prema, the Nishta is actually a midway stage. So it's a 50% stage. You have not yet reached Prema. There are 4 stages below that, 4 stages above that. So it's a midway stage. And that's why impurities, they are there, but they do not cause any major obstacles to your steady bhakti. So physically, you'll be able to render steady bhakti. And of course, then there are subtle stages also which relates to words and minds, words and mind also, where whatever you speak is also very steady in nature, and whatever you think is also steady. So 50% maya, 50% bhakti. Although impurities are 75% almost destroyed, but it's a midway stage. So steadiness, as I said, that there are different types of stage of nishta. Steadiness in bhakti, it goes further at the stage of body, the stage of word, and stage of mind. So the more you are steady in terms of body, word, and mind, the more advanced you are. And someone can be steady at the stage of body. Someone can be at the steady at the stage of word and body, and someone can be steady at the all stages. So steadiness in bhakti gives the ability to perceive real steadiness in other devotees. Yeah, so this is also important quality of steadiness is that once you become steady, then you will be able to recognize and identify who are actually steady devotees. Or basically, it means that a Madhyamadhikari is able to discriminate who is Kanishta, who is Uttama. So that way you will be able to get some idea. And that's why Madhyamadhikari is, Nishta stage is the stage of Madhyamadhikari. So Madhyamadhikari distinguishes devotee from non-devotee, distinguishes between Kanishta, Madhyam, Uttama. Steadiness in qualities. Yeah, so this is like humility, respect, friendliness, mercy, etc. So you'll also display these kind of qualities, and that will also that's also part of steadiness in word and steadiness in mind. So unless you are really thinking for the benefit of others, you cannot really express that in terms of words like that. So steadiness in qualities is not always a sign of steadiness in bhakti. So this is also very important to understand. We see that there are some outside people, materialistic people who have wonderful qualities, but they do not have bhakti. So steadiness in all these qualities. Now, materialistic people also, because they are influenced by the respective modes of material nature, so they will also display certain symptoms and in terms of qualities. And we feel that they are so nice people, they are so humble, and then we see that there are devotees who are so passionate, who are so ignorant of things, and they do not deal properly, they do not behave properly. But then you have to see their bhakti. So if bhakti is steady, if externally they are performing bhakti and that is steady, they have good faith in the process, in Guru and Vaishnavas, the mercy of the Lord, and if they are rendering steady service, then there may be some improper behavior or some qualities may not be manifested yet, but still we should appreciate them because of their steadiness. Okay, and between if you compare two things where a person, a materialistic person displaying wonderful qualities and a devotee who does not have good qualities but is steadily performing bhakti, and of course he is also sincere, so then we have to give more respect to the devotee because devotee is directly connected to the Lord. At least he is glorifying the Lord, and because Lord is the center of uh, the entire devotee community. So when like it is the root, right? So we say that we water the root of the tree, and automatically everything should be nourished. Ideally, this should happen. Unfortunately, it does not happen because still we are conditioned, and we feel that okay, we should be respected and we should have proper. Devotees should behave properly with us. So we have this kind of expectations. But any devotee who is serving the Lord, if they do not behave with us properly, but if he has respect and love for the Lord, and if he's doing that kind of service to the Lord, that has to be appreciated. And at least mentally, we are supposed to respect that devotee. We may keep distance from the devotee, but we should acknowledge that at least he has love for the Lord. Okay, or maybe for his guru, right? So it's a matter of time that he will be rectified, because the fire of Krishna consciousness will ultimately force him to develop all these good qualities in the future. Yeah, but one thing we need to know that materialistic people, non-devotees, they may display all these qualities, but these qualities are not going to be permanent. After, so maybe in this life they will give up these qualities because of external circumstances, or in this life they may demonstrate the qualities to the end of their lives, but then after that all these qualities will be destroyed, and according to their karma they will take another body with different modes of material nature, right? But bhakti, which is done, it always remains forever. So whichever state we have left that, from that state we continue the next step. So that way we have to see the long picture also. We should have a good vision. So like one time, I mean, there was a point of time in ISKCON where so many devotees, they were uh, going away. They were leaving ISKCON, falling down after Prabhupada's disappearance. And like, for example, his disciples, some of his disciples. So um, some devotees, they were criticizing, that they were trying to find some faults with them. But then there are exalted Vaishnavas that we have in our movement. They always used to say that whenever there is deviation, when there's a fall down, or whenever a devotee leaves the movement, we should always try to meditate on the good things they did for the movement, the services that they render, because Krishna quality is that he will always focus on only the good things of the devotees. He may have thousands of faults, but if he has some good qualities, I mean, if he has some good things, he is rendering service to Krishna. Even if he is rendering service one time, Krishna will remember that forever. So being devotees of the Lord, we should also imbibe the same qualities. And that's why it is very important to focus on the good things they did for the moment. And we should also try to encourage and appreciate them to come back, or to come on track. Okay, but not to criticize them in such a way that they will totally leave the movement and they'll never come back. So that should never happen. We should encourage them, we should support them. So whatever amount of service they have done to Prabhupada, so Prabhupada, see, Prabhupada appreciates that. If I say that, oh, I do not appreciate your behavior, but how does it matter? If Prabhupada has accepted a devotee, if Prabhupada has accepted the service of a particular devotee, then who are we to judge that devotee? So it's basically between Prabhupada and Krishna, Guru and Krishna. So we should always try to see the good things. There's also one Leela of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur. So apparently this one of his brahmachari devotee, um, so he committed some mistake, and that's why the his godbrothers had abandoned him, and because of that he left the temple and he went somewhere else. So when there was a festival that time, maybe Janmashtami or some other festival, or maybe there was a temple inauguration. I don't remember exactly, but Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur was supposed to arrive in the temple a couple of days later, and when he arrived, he was seeing that devotees are participating in the festival jubilantly, but then he was specifically looking for that one of his disciple, brahmachari disciple, who was not present there, and he inquired about him. And the devotee said that, well, Guru Maharaj, this devotee committed this mistake, and that's why now, we asked him to leave the temple. So he was extremely annoyed with this kind of behavior, and he immediately told all of his disciples that I don't care about anything. I don't care about the marble. I don't care about the temple amenities. I don't care about anything. I want my disciple back. So do anything possible to get him back. After that only I will be able to, I will be satisfied. So then the disciples, they started searching for this devotee here and there. And then one devotee was realizing that this devotee was able to repair watches. He had some experience in that. So then he guessed that maybe this devotee must be in some watch shop. So, and exactly it happened like that. So when they were finding him, they went to a couple of watch shops nearby, and they found this devotee and they got him back. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, when he saw his disciple, he embraced him and he very lovingly accepted him. So that also changed the heart of the disciple. And then after that, forever he followed Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's instruction. So this is the way actually we need to encourage and appreciate the service of all the devotees. Yeah. Okay, the stage of Ruchi. Now, so we already have discussed Nishtha. Now we come to the stage of Ruchi. Taste for the activities of bhakti, such as hearing, chanting, is vastly greater than attraction to anything else. So at the stage of Ruchi, Ruchi itself means taste or eagerness or liking. You like something spontaneously. So it's a spontaneous process. And that's why you become very much attached to glorifying the Lord, hearing about Him, chanting His names. Um, and there is no fatigue even with constant performance of hearing and chanting. Ruchi quickly produce addiction to bhakti activities. So this is the stage of Ruchi. Types of Ruchi. Now see, there is difference between Ruchi and Asakti. And why? Because at the stage of Ruchi, you are attracted to the limbs of bhakti. You are attracted to the sadhana process. Basically, as I said, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, and Padasevanam, Archanam. So these process you are most attached to. But at the state of Asakti, you get most attached to the goal of that purpose, the goal of that limb of bhakti, which is basically you are doing Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. But then all the goal of everything is to remember Krishna and never forget him. So you you start feeling that Krishna is part of your family member. He's your very close, intimate family member, and you cannot live without him. So that personal attachment towards Krishna is directly there. Whereas at the state of Ruchi, you are more attached to the limbs of bhakti. Okay, so it differs in the sense that at the state of Ruchi, you are not thinking so much about Krishna. Sometimes, like your smaranam is not very deep, and you are not seeing the Lord as a personality. I mean, to a great extent. So that attachment can only come when you relate with a person, when you develop attachment for a person. So that is the difference. And of course, Ruchi is of two types, which depends on the material elements, and that which does not depend upon material elements. So that, of course, which depends on the material elements is inferior type of Ruchi, and which does not is a superior type of Ruchi. So this is a sign of impurity in the heart. And uh, like for example, you want to only hear particular tunes of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. You are only attached to a particular uh, set of external factors. So that is basically dependent on material conditions. Whereas Ruchi, which does not depend on material elements, is you are attracted to the holy name itself. So it does not matter which tune, which devotee is singing and all that. You become more attracted to the kirtan. And it's a sign of purity of heart. So characteristics of Ruchi laments the previous conditioning, hears and chants constantly associated devotees, rejects material engagements, take, takes refuge of the dham. Very potent form of bhakti to go and visit dham and to also visit the pastime places of the Lord. This is a very potent process. So as we see that bhakti effects of devotional service will increase and anarthas will reduce. So asakti is compared to the nishtha is compared to the leaves of a plant or a tree. So the leaves will first appear, and then we'll see the flower. So before the flower, the entire flower will appear. There will be birds. From the bird, the flower will appear. So asakti is compared to the bud which appears on the plant. So as I said that Ruchi, bhajan is the object of taste, whereas Asakti, Krishna is the object of taste. So you will see the difference that you're more attracted to the limbs of Bhakti, then Krishna, and then Krishna becomes prominent in the state of Asakti. Yeah, so with effort withdraws mind from material objects. So in the state of Ruchi, there is some effort which is required to withdraw the mind from the material sense objects and in order to concentrate on Krishna, whereas Asakti, spontaneously your mind will be delving on Krishna. At the state of asakti, the Lord will suddenly appear in his heart as a reflection. So this, at the state of asakti, what happens? Like for example, when there is a lightning. So lightning is a matter of few seconds, a fraction of second. The lightning will appear and it will disappear quickly, right? So you see the lightning, and it does not take long time, so it goes away immediately. So similarly, at the state of asakti, you will see the form of the Lord. The Lord will appear to you in flashes, and he will disappear immediately, quickly. So there is some. So you will see that in this image, there is the image is actually blurred. It is not uh, with a good resolution, because this is what happens. You will not be able to perceive the Lord uh, exactly as he is, because that will be a reflection. It will be a flashing. So the devotee experiences the Lord in his heart like a flashing, flash of light. Characteristics of asakti: attracted to devotees and hearing from them, sees everything in relation to attaining Krishna, constantly thinks of how to attain Krishna, disregards the opinion of others. Okay, now at the stage of bhav. So after asakti is bhav. So here you can see the bud has become a flower. Okay, and Krishna's appearance is now very it is actually truly visible. Earlier it was blurry, the image was blurred, but now it is actually visible. So bhava or rati, it is compared to the flower, and first manifestation of the Satchidanand form of the Lord. So at the state of bhava, the Ladini and Samvit Shakti of the Lord, which is the Antaranga Shakti, Chit Shakti, will enter our heart, and that's how our senses will become purified. It will become spiritualized, and that's how we can actually see the Lord. Okay, without spiritual senses, you cannot see the Lord. That's why we require the Chit Shakti of the Lord, by which we can see the Lord. So bhav instantly it creates bliss in our heart, and now you can see the Lord without any blur. You know, it's all clear vision. So basically, the root cause of karma is avidya, and then avidya leads to asmita, ahankar, leads to rag, dvesh, abhinivesh, action, finally, and it leads to karma. So these are all destroyed at the state of bhav. So avidya itself is destroyed, which means you no longer identify yourself with the material body, and your ahankar is destroyed. False ego is destroyed. The pure ego starts taking over. So the characteristics of the state of bhav, because we discussed the state of sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti, the characteristics were shubhada and kleshagni. Now the state of bhav, there are two characteristics more: sudurlabh and moksha lagukrit. So sudurlabh means extremely rare. Bhav bhakti is very rarely attained, and moksha lagukrit means that you see liberation as insignificant. So liberation with destruction of avidya as well as bliss. And you see the state of aparadh also is very less, the state of bhava. So bhava attracts the Lord, and devotees become even more attracted to Krishna. Attain spiritual body and his senses experience the Lord's sweetness. So one by one, the devotee will start seeing the Lord, smelling the Lord, hearing the Lord, touching the Lord, tasting the Lord. The material body becomes almost lifeless. Spiritual qualities will manifest. Possessiveness of Krishna will also increase. Appears insane because of absorption in Krishna. The types of bhav, we have two types of bhav, which is Vaidhi Bhakti, generated bhav but generated through Vaidhi Bhakti, and then bhav generated through Raganuga Bhakti. So Vaidhi Bhakti, it is weaker in strength and spontaneity and less intense, because we see the Lord as being powerful and our master. Whereas the bhav which is arising from Raganuga Bhakti is stronger in strength and spontaneity, more intense, because we see the Lord more as our own relative. So Vaidhi sadhana leads to Vaidhi Uttha bhav, and finally it leads to Vaidhi Uttha prem. Raganuga sadhana leads to Raganuga Uttha bhav and Raganuga Uttha prem. So various bhavs or taste, Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, which is compared to like the at the state of Dasya. Of course, Shanta is not considered in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. He rejected that. Dasya, because there is no active service in that. So Dasya is compared to like a grape juice, then Sakya is compared to sugarcane, Vatsya is compared to jackfruit, and finally Madhurya compared to the mango. The state of bhav manifests vibhav. So basically, when we read the state of bhav, so there is a sthayi bhav. Sthayi bhav means our um, fixed, you can say, identification of relationship with the Lord. Like as we already discussed about Shanta Dasya Sakya Vatsalya Madhurya. So that is first identified, and then along with that, it is mixed with all these different bhavs, and that creates prem, mellows of devotion. Okay, that creates rasa basically. So vibhav, there is thai bhav, there is sattvic bhav, anubhav, vyabhichari bhavs. We don't need to go in details for these stages. And then finally, we reach the stage of prema, which is like the entire fruit that appears. Now, why there is a difference between bhav and prem? The difference is that because at the stage of bhav, there are some anarthas also, which influence the stage of bhav. And at the same time, there is also the influence of the aparadhas. So there is some pinch of material contamination at the stage of bhav, as well as the intensity, the magnitude of the bliss is also it's compared to one ray of the sun that will enter our heart, whereas prema is like the sun, like that. So now one thing also we need to understand is that although prema is the highest stage, but the prema stage will include all other lesser stages also. So that's why the fruit also includes the leaves, it also includes the buds, it also includes the flower, and as well as the fruit, which basically means that prema also includes sadhana as well as bhav. So the characteristics which were discussed of sadhana bhav are also included in prema. So the two qualities are present in bhava stage, and bhava stage also has two qualities. The bhava stage has got four qualities, and then prema has got two qualities, and then there are four other qualities. So totally we'll see that there are six qualities at the stage of prema. So the fruit of prema is concentrated bliss, Sadra Ananda Visheshatma, which is given in the nectar of devotion. Intense bliss, intense. You cannot, it's too high. The magnitude is very high, and the power to attract Krishna, Krishna Akarshini, it totally attracts the Lord. Great possessiveness for Krishna and greed for Krishna, which overcomes all obstacles. So momentary appearance of Krishna gives rise to more greed, the state of prema, increase of longing for the Lord, and bestowal of more bliss. Appearance of Krishna in all the senses. So all the senses will basically experience uh, Krishna's limbs. So direct meeting, you also meet the Lord directly. So Krishna first reveals his beautiful form for the eyes. He reveals his fragrance for the nose. He reveals his voice for the ear, touches the devotee, revealing his youthfulness, and then he reveals his taste, lips, for those in the Madhurya Ras. So then he reveals his beauty, fragrance, sound, touch, taste simultaneously. Then he bestows Kripa Shakti so that the Lord devotee can experience all of the Lord's qualities. And meeting and separation. So with each meeting and the devotee experiences the highest bliss. With each separation, devotee feels the greatest pain. Eventually, the devotee attains a spiritual body in the spiritual world and gives us the material body. All right. So there are higher stages which we don't need to discuss, which is basically after prema, depending on your rasa with the Lord, Shanta Dasa Sakya Ras, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. These stages also appear. So sneha. So after prema, there is the stage of sneha. There is man, pranaya, rag, anurag, bhav, mahabhav, and of course we know that Srimati Radharani is the sole possessor and she has the exclusive right of Mahabhav. And Mahabhav is also divided into Rudra Mahabhav, Adi Rudra Mahabhav, and then Adi Rudra Mahabhav is further divided into Mohanakya Mahabhav and Madhanakya Mahabhav, like that. So only Radharani possesses that Mahabhav. Even Krishna does not possess that Mahabhav. And then of course the gopis of Radharani, they go up to Anurag, and they also come to the stage of Mahabhav to some degree. And depending on your rasas, uh, the devotees of the Lord will reach to some stages like rag or pranaya or like that. Yeah, so this is the conclusion. Your attachment to matter and Krishna, how does it go as we progress along the stages from Shraddha to Prema? Okay, so with this, we conclude the class. Now, if there are any questions or comments, you can take.
Thank you, Prabhuji. This is Geeta for this wonderful class. I think one has to go through the slides again. So if I can request you and or Savita Mataji, Shamrasika Mataji to put it on the site, our WhatsApp group, if it's possible. Hmm. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, sure. I will do that. But just remember one thing, that this is Bhanu Maharaj's slides. So, I mean, I have not prepared it myself. I've just taken it from Maharaj's class. So you just need to be careful about that. That's it.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And other thing is that I know thoughts also are karma. So, like very often one is judgmental about other people. So, for that also we have to ask for forgiveness from the person, or one can, because it's in the mind. It's not that serious, right? Because it comes sometimes automatically. And so, how does one, handle that? Because that happens pretty often.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So yeah, that's a good question. See, the thing is, generally the devotees whom we are in touch with and with whom we are dealing most of the time. So we naturally get thoughts of those devotees, because we are seeing their aspiration, we are seeing their behavior, and that's why then we start forming some kind of mentality for them, some kind of opinion, because that's our experience with them. So it may be true, and yeah, I think it also requires some kind of good purpose to share with the devotee that, okay, I think your behavior is not right, or you're not following certain things, provided you are a friend to that devotee. Um, and if you are senior, if the junior would like to take your guidance advice, then you may definitely provide your feedback. But if they do not wish to take your guidance or your correction, then they can, some others can correct that devotee. So that's why Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur also says that instead of contemplating on the fault of others, it's better that all the devotees should contemplate on their own faults. And that way, when you find faults with yourself, then you'll have no time to find fault with others, and you'll only see the good thing in others. Because you will realize that you are so fallen. At least that devotee, even though he may have one or two faults, but I have got 10 faults. So what about me? Why I am trying to see faults in that devotee, right? So you feel that actually he is much better than me. I should pay my respect to him. So that way also you can try to uh, use your intelligence and correct yourself. And of course, whenever we are in the association of devotees, there is going to be mutual reciprocation of feedbacks, or uh, some kind of critical, uh, some type of critical approach is going to be there. But it all depends on your relationship also. And in the mind, if it comes, we need to analyze also whether, okay, I understand this person behaves like this. And so if I am getting affected by that behavior, and then of course that behavior has to be genuine. I mean, you feel that the devotee is behaving like this, and it's not good for his spiritual advancement, and it is not good for your spiritual advancement, then you have the right to take the appropriate step, which is you can keep distance from the devotee, even after sharing with him, even after trying to share your feelings that no, this is not the right etiquette, Vaishnava etiquette, and it will not just cause your uh, hamper your devotional service, but it will also affect my devotional service. So that way, if the devotee does not rectify, then we have the right to take decision to act on it, and we can keep some safe distance from the devotee. Uh, yeah, and if you commit some, like if you think negatively about someone, if you judge someone, maybe you, like for example, you come across a devotee, you have spent good amount of time with the devotee, and then you know the nature of the devotee, and you know that, okay, this is how he's going to act. But sometimes it may happen that we may judge in the mind wrongly. We may wrongly judge, and that may not be the motivation or intention of the devotee. So in that case, of course, we have to feel repentant about it. We should also, um, I mean, if you have that kind of relationship with that devotee, you can also go and if it is happening in the mind, you don't have to reveal everything in the mind, because in Kali Yuga, if you start revealing your mind, then everything will be finished. You know, so okay, we acknowledge that something is coming in the mind. It's a wrong thing. We are judging someone, so we immediately stop it and we repent about it. Yeah, but one thing you have to make sure that the whatever is coming in the mind, it should not become it should not come out. It should not become a habit. So that way you have to preach to the mind also. Okay, and although the sinful activities that we commit in the mind in Kali Yuga, so we don't get any reaction for that. That's the concession we have. But aparadhs, if we commit in the mind, that will also have some reaction. So um, if you get some judging mentality in your mind for a devotee, then yeah, you must try to repent and you should stop it. And of course, you also see the result of that. If you judge someone and it exactly happened the way you thought, then you may think that okay, I feel that I know this devotee well. But if you see that that was not the case, it was opposite, then definitely you need to um, contemplate and you have to preach to your mind. You should not allow it to happen regularly. So that way we have to curb it. And so
So what is you said Aparadh also, Prabhuji? Aparadh in the mind?
yes, aparadh in the mind also has got reaction. It will appear in some sort of reaction to it. But the severity of the reaction will be less compared to you actually doing it verbally or physically. Okay, so aparadhs, they have reaction. Um, they do have reactions in the mind also.
So while one is going through that, Prabhuji, one can immediately tell the Lord, "Please help me," and I'm sorry for this. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as I shared, that you need to also see the result. So, like for example, you have thought about a particular devotee and you judge the devotee in your mind. This devotee is like this only. He's not going to do it, and I know him. But then he does it, and he proves you wrong. Then of course you can, at least mentally, you can think that maybe I judged that devotee in a wrong way, and I should not do it again. So we can repent. We can uh, ask we can ask the Lord to forgive us, and that way we should not repeat that, because what you repeat in the mind, no, finally it will also uh, eventually it will manifest in terms of it will come out verbally or it may come out physically, like that.
So, Prabhuji, like, let me, because right now we are discussing. I'm sorry, I'm taking away your time. But the thing is, like, if I give you an example, that may be better, a small example. Like, I just got a text and I reacted to that right away. And I said it's due to karma, you know, the person, I mean, something happened in India. So, I shouldn't have said that, who am I? Then I felt bad also, but that person doesn't know. And but I shared it with my brother and said that, I mean, so many mishaps have happened. It's karmic, and we know about that person is like that. But still, I judged the person. So all I can say, sorry now. There's nothing I can do, right?
uh, I think when mishaps are occurring, and so see, there is one thing which is called as uh, the the truth of life, and which is that there is a karmic reaction, of course. So you're not wrong in your judgment. But if you get it personal, if you like personally target someone, that okay, this happened to him because of his karma, and he should have he deserves that. That is not the right attitude for a devotee. So the devotees generally should be compassionate, and of course we understand that everyone is facing their karma, but we should not personalize that, and we should not say that okay, he's suffering because of his own karma and he deserves that. But to say that, yeah, like people have got karmas from previous lives, and unfortunately, these things are happening because because there are good people who are also suffering. So why it is why are they suffering? And one of the most important answers is that because of their karma from the previous life, and they are not even aware of that. So that is quite valid. I mean, it's according to Guru Shastra, but it should be done in a compassionate way. That's the point.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And maybe not verbalize it also, right? One should not make it, one should just keep quiet. When one is,
Uh,
I think it's not pass a judgment, and then that is putting an impression on my mind and in the other person's mind. It's adding to the problem, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the intention matters the most. So, like for example, the devotees also when they go for preaching, wherever they are going for preaching, whether it's book distribution or in the corporate world, anywhere. So there are like devotees do give examples of mishaps occurring or people who are killed in a massive scale, and just to convey that, or there are students who are committing suicides in colleges. So it is not that we are not trying to convey that it's because of their karma and they deserve it. What we are trying to do is to make people realize that the this life is going to end, and birth, that or death, disease is the reality. So we have to learn from the life experiences. So intention is the most important
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hari Krishna.
thing.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danda Pranam. All grace to Sri Prabhupada.
Yes.
It was such a nice and deep class about the stages in bhakti, which is, we all of us uh, go through day-to-day basis. And it is our part of our experience of sadhana. I mean, the experience derived from sadhana. So it is so deep, and the tattva is also so deep. You make it everything so simple. That is your special quality. You talk on always on such a deep matter, which is a rare treat for us. So I have one question regarding Aparadh Prabhu. Like we know that Krishna spends the towards the end Jnana, he spends four chapters, 14, 16, 17, and part of 18 about the three modes of material nature, and that is for us to be able to discriminate. Now, all of the devotees are definitely not Uttamadhikari. Even Madhyamadhikari are in the influenced by the three modes of material nature, and some of the times those material nature. Some of the times those modes of material nature, the behavior exhibited by those modes of material nature in hamper. I mean, generally, the devotees or somebody that I may be responsible for to keep the bhakti intact of that person. So, in that case, so if I point out that as per this and this verse, this is not due. So, is that an aparadh?
Point out what?
I mean, if I point out as per this and this verse, you are not supposed to do this, or yeah. So is that an aparadh?
No, I
So
didn't.
the two points I am putting up are, one is that supported by scripture, and second thing is the behavior exhibited by the modes of material nature of that devotee is affecting others who are inclined toward, I mean, who are on the path towards Krishna, or especially somebody who I am responsible for.
Yeah. So, see, if you are in a responsible position and if you have the right to point out certain things with the right intention, then it is absolutely fine. It's a service, especially for the guru and for the mentors. If devotees are looking towards them as an inspiration, and then you can definitely provide feedback or some kind of criticism. wherever it is required with the right motive. So if you are allowed to do that by the devotees, then you can do it. It's a service. That service can benefit the devotee. But and yeah, so that's one point, right? Second point, what you said about.
Yeah, second point is backed by scripture, and second, yeah, more or less backed by scripture. So yeah, I mean the scriptures and the commentaries of the acharyas all point towards the point to the fact that the devotee was not in the correct standing. So that is another point.
So see, it's like, in order to simplify this, two things we must remember. First is that whether we are in the position to correct someone, or if it's our responsibility to do that. Second thing is the intention. So if these two things are there, then we may offer our correction or whatever rectification requires. But if we are not in that responsible position, and uh, of course, intention though we know, I think everyone knows what is the real intention behind offering some kind of critical feedback. But the main thing is whether we are responsible or not. So let's say if there is good intention behind your uh, criticism or correction, whatever feedback you are providing, but whether by giving that feedback, the devotee will appreciate that and it will help him. That's another thing. So that also we must take into consideration. If your unnecessary feedback will repel that devotee from you, then your relationship with that devotee will also become sour. So better not to give feedback. And of course, if you feel that some devotee is bothering you or their behavior is not inspiring to you, then you can keep a distance from them.
Not me, Prabhu. So I am a fallen servant. So I am not qualified. But when I see somebody else is being affected, that is the point.
Someone else being affected by what?
Affected by the translation by that devotee.
So I think what you are saying is that if a devotee is affected by the external modes of material nature or by some external factors, then he may not behave properly or he may not do bhajan properly, right? That I think that's what you are saying. And for us, how do we see that? So as I said, that if you have a relationship with that devotee, and if you feel that by offering your feedback to the devotee, if that will help him, he will listen to that, then it is definitely, it's a service, because we are trying to encourage others. And if you feel that offering that advice or feedback will repel that devotee from you further, then it's better not to give that kind of advice. So it also depends on the receptivity of the devotee. So or or you must be in a authoritative position, like for example, as I gave the example of the temple president or temple manager or commander. So even though a devotee may not have direct contact with the temple president, but if a devotee is doing something which is causing harm to the temple, its reputation, or he is not following certain principles or policies of the temple, then the temple president has all the right to correct him, whether he likes it or does not like it. Because when you are in the system and you are a part of the system, you have to accept certain things. So, so that much feedback you can provide, but the temple president cannot interfere in his personal sadhana and seva and correct him unless the devotee wants it. So these are different areas of services. Okay, you understand? Like for example, a person goes to job, and the person does not say to the boss that, I will do things according to my way. You don't have any right to correct me, or I will do what I like to do. So that, of course, is not the policy of the workplace, because according to the policy, normally whatever boss will say, we are supposed to do like that. We are supposed to follow that, or the senior, whoever is our senior. So the structure is like that. In an official organization also, we will have the same thing. If there is a temple president, there is a GBC, we are supposed to follow that, and we have to respect that. So whether you have a relation or not, that's a different thing. But as far as you are connected to the temple has certain policies, and if you divert from the policy, if you go against it, the temple authorities, they have the right to correct you. Okay, but that right is limited to that thing, to the formal structure of the system. Whereas personally, when it comes to sadhana seva, these are all spiritual subject matters that is connected to the our directly to our gurujan, from whom we are inspired. Okay, and of course, if a devotee is sincere, then he will take advice from anyone. um, of course, we don't take advice from someone repeatedly from whom we are not inspired. But if you remember the Bhagavatam, there are the 24 gurus for the Avanti Brahmana, and all these gurus, they were not even devotees, they were not even human beings, some of them. So they were like plants, uh, animals, and some material elements like that. And he learned a lot of lessons from all of them, and he used to consider them as guru. So you may, so anyone, if he's giving advice to you, if it is in line with Guru Sadhu Shastra, then it's, I think we should humbly accept it. That's what our Acharya, they have also taught us, that a devotee should be humble, and the way to chant constantly is to always be in the humble state of mind. So if someone will criticize you, correct you, we should not retaliate. We should humbly accept it. Whether it may be true or not, that's a different thing. Whether we are supposed to follow or not, that's also another thing. Like for example, some senior devotee may come and tell you that, okay, Prabhu, you are not doing this properly, or you should do this. But then you know that your guru has told you you have to do like this, or you know that you are supposed to do it like this. So you may accept that advice mentally, but you may not follow that externally, because there is a conflict of advices, and whatever your gurujan says, that is the foremost. So you have to follow that. Rest all other devotees, they have different opinion, they will say certain things to you. Though you can humbly say, okay, he's teaching me something for my benefit, but then following is a different thing, taking is a different thing, like that. So whatever is good for us, like for example, if tomorrow, if some non-devotee will come and tell me that you need to be more patient or humble or tolerant. Now this is a general instruction which is aligned with our scriptures, Guru Sadhu Shastra. So then I must accept that. Okay, and I can follow that also. But tomorrow if he comes and tells me that, oh, Prabhu, you are supposed to chant 64 rounds a day, some devotee or maybe some non-devotee will give similar kind of advice, then I will just mentally, I won't react to it unless the person will accept what I present to him. If he does not accept, then there's no point of arguing with the devotee or person. I will mentally say okay, but then I will continue with my own thing, because I know that that is not the current instruction that I'm supposed to follow. So all these I think subtle things are also taken into consideration. So it is not so easy. I mean, you need to figure out, many factors are involved.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Prabhuji.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the lovely class. You're just so detailed and deep with all the slides, just amazing. Thank you so much. The only thing I would like to comment is from my personal experience that even if I judge anybody in my mind that, oh my God, this person does this, I immediately see reaction and I'm not able, I end up in that situation doing the same thing. So I like to keep those thoughts away. Everybody has their own journey. All of us are going through our own thing. So my personal experience is not to just judge anybody, because I feel this is dukhalai. I'm going to go through my own thing. That is one thing. And the other thing is, I literally see even like there used to be a devotee in the temple, and I was there for Ekadashi. She was a very elevated devotee. She said, "Oh, why don't you have prasad?" And in my mind, I thought, "Oh, I just have it once." And I had that vain, that conceit, that arrogance in myself, in my mind. And from that day, I could never observe Nirjala Ekadashi or anything because I keep getting sick. So I just like to keep my thoughts very focused. That, and obviously she was a devotee. Even in my mind, I should have never thought. And she's been my very good friend. And I thought in my mind, I was very new to SCON that, oh, they keep eating on Ekadashi. That's not how I observe. So sometimes I think thoughts are very scary. So it's just best to stay positive and never ever judge. This is my personal journey. And you guys are very elevated. I'm not even initiated. Everybody's twice initiated and chanting on a very high platform. I'm very, very much lower. But my journey has been just not to even think about anybody because we don't know what their connection is with Krishna or what their journey is. We just don't know.
Yes, yes.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your views. And as you rightly mentioned that one thing I liked, especially when you shared about your experience of judging someone and then getting into that same situation yourself, right? So this is also what I was saying, that devotees need to uh, see the results of a particular judgment. So if you like, I mean, there are instances where we know a person's nature. I mean, like, you cannot deny that. For example, our own family members, we know them very well, in and out. So we can judge to some extent, or we may know our friends also, in devotee friends also. But yeah, but sometimes we may faulty, very, you can say, with immaturity, we judge someone. So that, uh, of course, the Lord will give some reaction to that, and we'll realize it later on that I was not right. Yeah, so that's right. And of course, it all depends on our position, whether we are supposed to judge someone, and that whether that judgment is going to help others, and whether we are the ones to rectify them, right? So these are the factors which are very important. And of course, I don't think you have to think like that, because we are initiated devotees, we are very elevated or something like that. This is just a formal thing that we have taken. It's a formalized process. That's it. We are just formalizing what we have heard. But whether we are actually really at that stage, that's of course very difficult, because devotees have conditioning and anarthas, and some neophyte devotees may have wonderful qualities and they may advance more than the initiated devotees also. So nothing like that. But yes, of course, it's quite difficult to be free from judgment, because this is the way we have been trained in the material world. So it will take some time. We don't have to specifically think about that all the time. And that's why Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur rightly mentions that the process of Krishna consciousness is that of artha pravriti. It is not about anartha nivriti. So the main goal of Krishna consciousness is to always remember Krishna and never forget him, right? So that should not be replaced by anartha nivriti, which means that you are only focusing on, oh, I committed some aparadh against someone, or I did something to someone, or I said something to someone. What will be the reaction, and how can I control my anger, the lust and qualities and all that? So that focus should not divert. Although we acknowledge that we have certain material conditionings, we have some anarthas, but the more we are engaged in direct limbs of bhakti, I think the more we will start uh, we will start ignoring all these things automatically, and will become more serious and focused in the limbs of bhakti. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. So basically the goal is that we remember Krishna. And one thing also, the Lord is also very merciful. It does not mean that if we are committing aparadhs by mistake. That's why, see, in Kali Yuga, everyone is a Sudra, technically. And Sudra means that we will have the tendency to correct others, to judge others. And we ourselves are fallen. So that's a part of the process. We need to acknowledge that is going to happen. But of course, the desire is that we should reform ourselves in such a way that we don't do it on a regular basis, and ultimately we stop it. And then we also have faith in the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, our Gurujan and the Lord, that they are extremely merciful. What they are basically saying is that be very cautious about the major things that we are doing in bhakti. Basically, the aparadhs which are envious in nature and intentional in nature, in order to defame someone. So we need to be careful about that. Um, yeah. Otherwise, I don't think we should get into that kind of fearful zone where we just keep on thinking about we practice bhakti with fear. No, this is not what the Lord wants us to do. The Lord wants us to practice bhakti happily. That's why Prabhupada also said that chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Don't be miserable all the time. So sometimes we can get into this cycle and we will be actually stuck. So it is very important artha pravriti at the same time, and then when we focus our mind is focused somewhere, then other things will be replaced by this higher principle of artha pravriti. Yeah, so the Lord is very merciful, and if there are mistakes, as I also shared in the presentation, that our Acharya Srila Vishwanath Thakur is saying that if we commit aparadhs by mistake, we are not even aware to whom we committed aparadh, then take shelter of the holy name and chant the holy name constantly and repent for, if you realize that, okay, yeah, this is the reason, like a circumstance where I committed aparadh to someone, and the devotee is not even aware of that. So in that situations, we can always take shelter of the holy name, and we can go forward with the process of Krishna consciousness. And that way, I think gradually with time, we will start uh, reducing all these other anarthas. So yeah. So this is my experience, and maybe devotees also have got experience of this.
Oh, thank you very much, Prabhu. You really helped me a lot, because you're saying striking a balance. It's just not that we should be so fearful, and like you said, chant, be and be happy, and like from the whole class, how you said in the line of sadhu shastra and scriptures, if it is so, we should follow that. So yes, thank you. Basically, you're just saying strike a balance. It shouldn't be always being fearful
Yeah,
and
it
thinking.
should not be fearful. The experience should not be fearful experience, because the Lord is not a dictator.
Yeah,
He's the supreme merciful Father. So
yeah,
and one more very inspiring quote by Srila Vishwanath Thakur. He says that the Lord will punish the devotee not as a matter of giving reactions to us for our karma or for any kind of aparadhs. It is mainly for our rectification. That's it. So there's a difference between punishment and rectification. So rectification is given to our own people so that they improve, and uh, punishment is given to those who are not related, right? And it is just that they are facing their own karmic reaction. But in case of devotees, they are directly under the purview of the Lord's respiration. So the Lord, in any circumstance, whether we commit aparadh or not commit aparadh, we will face reaction uh, by the Lord directly, and this arranged by the Lord. And that's why it is said that when the Lord tests a pure devotee, it is for his glorification. And when the Lord tests a neophyte, it is for his purification. So that much faith we should have that the Lord will purify me. It's meant for my own rectification. And of course, we also realize that everyone is very dear to the Lord. So we need to become more respectful and careful in the dealings. We need to we have to be very sensitive in the dealings. The more sensitive we become, the more we become dear to the Lord, because everyone is very dear to the Lord. So that way, like we have the philosophy at the same time, we should happily follow the process of Krishna consciousness.
thank you very much, Prabhuji. This is really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for this wonderful class. And what about if somebody else is criticizing someone? Then how do we handle that?
Oh, yeah. So I think I forgot to address that. So our acharyas, they say, and scriptures also say that there are three ways to react in such situation. If one criticizes other Vaishnavas, then one should kill that person. Right? This is, I think you must have heard this, that one is supposed to kill that person, or one is supposed to cut the tongue of that person. Um, Otherwise, one is supposed to counter them in argument and make them understand that what they thought is not right. So you have to defeat them in argument. And the third is that altogether you have to leave the place. So for the Kshatriyas, the first process was recommended in the previous yugas because Kshatriyas were warriors. So they could kill someone or they could cut the tongue of a person. But of course, that is not recommended for devotees. If ISKCON devotees they start doing this, then you can just imagine what will be the impression we'll give to the world. So for us, when we hear about criticism of other Vaishnavas, then we are supposed to defeat that person in argument. If we also have that kind of confidence and we can logically dismantle the arguments of that opposing person, and if we cannot do it, then we just have to close our ears and we have to run from that place. We should not hear that blasphemy. And then, so this is one example of one context where you hear blasphemy of advanced devotees from outside people. But then there is another context where devotees come to you and they start sharing with you your experiences dealing with other devotees. Okay, so now Rupa Goswami also mentions about in the Nectar of Instruction, he says that one should reveal one's mind in confidence to others. So again, when you talk about other devotee, when you say that you don't have a good experience dealing with them, and this is what happened to you, and this is what they did to you, so it has to be done in confidence with another devotee, and your intentions should be pure. It should not be diluted with any other motive to defame the devotee or to bring him down. Right? So with honest intention and with the pure motive, with the desire to help yourself and to help the others also, other devotees who criticized, you can reveal things in confidence. So there is a system where you, like for example, if you, let's say if you experience some kind of negative reciprocation or dealing with a devotee, then you can approach the devotee and you can honestly reveal your mind to that devotee. If he still repeatedly does it, you can warn that devotee. If he does not listen to you, then you can approach a senior devotee from whom he's taking inspiration or from who is taking guidance, and you can share with that senior devotee. That the senior devotee will correct that devotee. So there's a process, there's a system, and then if there is some senior devotee who will judge you or who will correct you for things that you have not done wrong, and you feel that it is not justified, then you can also approach another senior devotee who who is his equal or who is superior to him, and you can share your thoughts with that devotee, and then that devotee will talk to that the senior devotee who criticized you, and then he's supposed to resolve that. So this is how it works. Okay. um, yeah, because this is also very important. Part of having relationship with deep relationship with devotees means that in that relationship you will also share your feelings and thoughts. You will not burden yourself with these feelings. Ultimately you'll have to share with someone because you cannot keep digesting everything, right? I mean, we are also trying to advance. We are not yet reached the stage of Uttamadhikari. Uttamadhikari is unaffected by anything. But as long as we are Kanishta and Madhyama, we'll have all these um, uh, tendencies to, remember and to have grudges for others because they said something against us. So these things we are supposed to share with our uh, peers or superiors, and then they will do the needful. If we need some correction, maybe we have faultily judged a devotee. I mean, like let's say for example, if a devotee corrected you, and you felt that okay, this is he's judging me, but then if if you think that if you are in his position, the platform and the position from which he's advising you, if you are in the same position, you may have done the same thing. Then a senior devotee will tell you that Prabhu, see, you have to understand from this point of view also, and you are wrong in this situation. So then you have to rectify your mentality. You thought you are judged, but you are not judged. It is actually a natural process. You would have done the same thing with others also, right? So all these things are like very uh, like they are all, I think, case to case. It all depends on circumstances, individual circumstances and details.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. And the in a milder form to non-Vaishnavas also, we need to be in a similar handling it in a similar way, right? Main reason, like you said, is the intention behind, and sometimes we just lighten ourselves in confidence Just the intention should not be negative. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
I think most of the devotees, they get affected, to be honest, and it is absolutely all right. In fact, Prabhupada as a Uttamadhikari, of course, he had stepped down to the Madhyamadhikari platform, but Prabhupada also was affected. If you see, when Prabhupada was dealing with his god brothers, Prabhupada criticized them so much. If you read his letters and purports, in the purport itself, Prabhupada has criticized his god brothers like anything. But at the end of his passing away, he felt very repentant and he was apologizing to all his god brothers. And he was saying that I am not qualified, I'm not fit, and I criticized so many of my god brothers. So basically, what Prabhupada was doing is he came to the platform Madhyamadhikari, and at the time of passing away, he again came to the platform Uttamadhikari, realizing that he is the most fallen, right? So one thing is that because the entire process of that of ultimately realizing that we are all persons, we are individuals, right? This is not a Mayavadi process where everything is one. We all become one, and there are no feelings, there are no emotions. When you have personalities, they will have feelings, emotions, but these feelings and emotions should be purified. It will always be there. You will always get affected, but then you have to purify those feelings. So I don't think anyone can say that I'm not affected by this that, and someone is impersonal in nature. But it is like uh, they may understand that this is not the right thing, but they may not say, they may not express, and they are not affected in their constant chanting or constant service to the Lord. So that way, but of course that because we are humans, we are personalities, so their feelings are always going to be there. So nothing wrong in that.
Yes, Prabhuji, when we've taken this body, and especially in Kali Yuga, right? So, but the Lord is very merciful to us. But you know what, Prabhuji, like they say, the Lord is our Father, He loves us. Very true. But the only difference I think like that, it may be wrong, is that the difference between the Lord and our father, our physical father or parents, is that when we come to this stage in spirituality, we are accountable for our karmas, we are punished, we have to be responsible and all that. But when we are with our parents, they never look at, though they cannot do much, but they don't, they are not in a position, we don't feel we are accountable to our karmas. You know what I mean? There is total forgiveness for everything mostly, but with the Lord, we have to be very careful, because even though He's very compassionate and everything, but we are accountable for a lot of our every action.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah, we also may take it for granted, but then we also realize that we have become, we have grown up. So we are grown up children. We are no longer small children. So we have to take account of our actions also, and our behavior also. But as I said that, yeah, the overall experience has to be that of bliss. You should be blissful in Krishna consciousness. That's the main thing. And in a family, as you are also sharing that we are in a family, and in a family, sometimes we may deal with our siblings also in a critical way, but then we forget about it later on. So that way, the Lord is not going to keep account each and every account of whatever you are going to think in your mind, small things. Basically is concerned about the majority of the things. And you can just imagine one thing. I think this will also give you a good reason why we need to be afraid of offenses to the Holy Name. Is because, let's say, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can say that Mahaprabhu was the most magnanimous form of the Lord. Then why he didn't neutralize the offenses also? Like, he gave everything to us, the topmost to the lowest, and he very mercifully gave it. Instead of taking millions of births, or instead of taking multiple lifetimes in order to reach Vaikuntha or Goloka, that entire thing has been condensed to, it can be done in one lifetime also. Then why not show more, even more mercy, and say that, okay, don't worry about the offenses also, I will take care of it. Now what will happen if this thing will happen? If Mahaprabhu says that, okay, uh, I don't expect that devotees will follow any um, rules in terms of offense to the Holy Name. The offenses are all removed. What is going to happen then? Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Everyone will become critical. of each other. Everyone will start. So it will become a violent movement. We'll all start physically abusing each other, verbally, physically, everything will be done. Because we are already coming from outside world where everyone wants to be the master, and in the same moment when we come, in the spiritual circle when we come, we'll have the same tendency to become the master of everyone, right? And to say anything, to do anything, whatever we feel like. So this is how we can actually deduct that why offenses are still there, why Mahaprabhu has not removed offenses. It's actually to make us realize that everyone is very dear and we should respect everyone. That feeling of respect will only come when we realize that there are reactions, there are serious reactions to offenses. Does it make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. You really understand the question also very well from a practical point of view. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for this nectar class and wonderful question answer session. Your classes are so informative, and thank you so much for giving us a time. So if nobody has any question or comment, we can end up the call here.
Yeah. So all good wish to our Guru Parampara, our acharyas who have given all this message to us, and so we are just repeating the message. Yes. So thank you all the devotees so much for your time, and very happy to serve all of you. So we'll continue.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Vanchakalpataruyasya Krupasindhuvaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha.
Whatever I spoke, whatever I shared, I hope that I also follow that to a great extent. That is my prayer to all of you. You please pray that I can follow and I can I can implement this knowledge. That's the main thing. So
Yes, Prabhuji, yes. You also pray for us, Hare Krishna. So, Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
His Grace Prema Rasa Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. all
Tomorrow is
devotees.
Ekadashi, so we are having fast tomorrow.
we have Ekadashi on Saturday.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.